myself, felt good about that. I took a risk. I listened to somebody else. I stayed with myself. We did this for a while, and then like what I call the byproduct of the waste is that I have built an effective relationship, and now I'm sustaining some real true allies. Just in the action of doing it. I'm listening to Pam, and she says something crazy, and I flip. And then finally, I ground myself and I breathe. Okay, who am I? As hard as it may be to ask yourself that question at a time, you have all that emotion and adrenaline running through you, and you want to claim that pain and that anger, and you want to act from it. You gotta take that breath and ask yourself, who am I for real outside of this? And what do I want my action to look like in this situation? Am I going to let an external force outside of me, actions that I cannot control, dictate who I am and what my next action may be? Nope, I'm going to come right back here and sit in the pain of this and clear it up and remember, nope, can't do that from who I am. I cannot do that. I cannot bring that to this world. And so, it is hard to take this model back out into the world. But you have to understand, at a certain point, you do have certain information that you're responsible for. The way that information turns into wisdom is by performing it in actions in this world. And if we want a better world, if we want to do something different, if we want to have whatever your cause is, if it's not just to make it safer for you at the house, you have to start with yourself and be honest about where you are and be willing to work through your movements, even though it may be painful sometimes. You have to do the work. Nobody in this room is going to have an experience that they share in this room and you're going to be healed because you heard them. It's just not going to work that way. You have to bring your own voice. Words are powerful. You take them for granted. That's spirit talking.
So the first indicator is your body. That body that you have is yours. There are some things that we know make sense. If I hit my foot with a hammer, my brain lets me know it hurt. Tears come to my eyes, and I'm clear what happened, right? So I understand that process. When I'm sitting in a room and every time somebody says the word blue-green, my hands tighten up. I start to sweat. But I don't take the time to figure out what that is. We don't pay attention like that. Your body is a great indicator of what's going on for you. Start to notice when you tighten up, when you stop breathing, when you start looking at the ground. And the more we can understand how our body is connected to who we are and what our egg is and how we're feeling and how we're connecting, the more it can give us information, right? The other thing, the next one is mind, right? The way our minds work. Notice what your mind is doing as you're listening to people. It'll help you understand who you are. If you already know the answer to what that person's about to say, and you're just waiting for them to stop talking so you can tell them, you might not be present. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know how you work. When do you become judgmental? Right? Feelings. Start noticing your feelings. There's a poster here of all of the different feelings that exist. Because I know that I made it to like 36 years old thinking there were like 3. Right? There's happy, there's angry, there's sad. Sometimes sad looks like fear, but I don't really like fear, so I make it sad. Right? There's a lot of feelings. Start to know what yours are. This is your system. Start to get familiar with it. Understand how it works and what it does. And know your history, know your stories. Know what those things are on the floor. Don't be afraid of the scary stories. I don't want to think about when I was 7 because it makes me think about it. Own that story so it's yours. So it's not something that you slide into every time somebody says, my daddy did. Oh my God. No, oh wow, really, your daddy did that. Okay, I have a story too, but it's not your story. I got it.
This is the toolkit for listening, the type of listening that we do to be present. I started in the center because really, in listening, that's the most important thing. Be the talker, be the guide. You know, if you make a conclusion for somebody today, tomorrow you're going to have to make a conclusion for them. The next day, you're going to have one brain and 2 bodies. I want people to talk as much as they can. Now that if they, you know, people can usually, you know, keep moving after, you know, maybe a couple of seconds or a pause or something. And let's say, like, if they get stuck in the way, then I might put my hand on them if they like that. You know, if they don't, then I won't do it if they force that. But that physical connection, you know, bring you back into the present. You know, it just does that for some reason.
I learned what the questions were, and I used them everywhere. How does that make you feel? Does that remind you of anything? Right? There was like this set of questions I thought that there were, and I thought I was facilitating.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? How did that make? When it got clear to me that all I'm doing when I'm listening to others in a clear and conscious state is helping them figure out how to be who they are, then my whole job in listening, is to encourage them into a clearer egg, right? So sometimes my questions aren't even about what they're saying. A lot of my questions are about to know yourself. How are you feeling right now? What are you thinking about? Right? What does that remind you of? Does that happen before to you? Is that because of who they were to you? Are you that way in every relationship? So that they can start to like, yeah. I'm not trying to walk them through the forest of their mind. Watch out, there's a boulder there. I'm not doing that. But I am saying things like, wow, every time we talk, you trip over that boulder.
So like, if you really want to help somebody in their movement, the biggest thing you could do is have patience and learn to wait for them to emerge. So I'm literally talking to be the guide. I learn how to wait, the physical connection. I know what kind of questions I can ask to help the talker keep talking. And I have to remember that it is their story.
The last one on here, everybody read it with me.
Stay with yourself.
I'm sorry, what?
Stay with yourself.
Please do not lean all off into somebody else. Don't leave your chair being all in that and you're gone. The best support you can be to me is somebody who's checking her indicators, his indicators checking them. Okay, woo, that was woo, okay, but all right. Hang here with you and listen to me. I don't need you over here in my stuff.
And if you do get caught up in somebody's stuff, know that you come into it from the I and your own experience and why you are having a hard time. Not in the pity of or in the relationship of. Remember, we already relating around enough pain. It's an old habit, you know what I'm saying, but it's a habit that worth paying attention to and breaking. Because then like you don't suffer as much. The emotional pain that I used to carry in this world, I almost died dead. I tell people that all the time. You know, like being shut down and closed off, you know what I'm saying, from your egg, you know, that's a death. That's a spiritual death. And and all the things that, all the pleasures of this earth will never ever be a replacement for it. You know what I'm saying? You have to be in that.
Just really starting to witness when I leave as soon as possible and catching it.
You can absolutely stand and know that it is just working itself out. For me, I'm looking at it. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't show up pretty, and it hurts. It absolutely hurts. But I also know that I'm on recovery side.
For me, I feel like what's really sinking in and becoming mine of the model has to do with my relationship to getting things done and having my feelings. And that for a long time, those were two separate things. At first, I was afraid of the feelings because I thought if I feel them, they are going to mess with what I have got going here. That in fact, getting things done is facilitated by the integration of my feelings into it. And like, whoa, like finally to have the two core parts of my life become one like that, and that I actually have the tools to know when a feeling is going to impact getting something done, because I can't be fully present with the.
How do you get to know the core of yourself that's not based on that history? And here's the trick. When you're still in a culture that still have all of those elements present, take a risk. And it really definitely was a risk. What I've gotten is 30-some years of experiences being in so many different places to find more of the truth.